Space Marine 2 PvP is not a skill arena. It's not a skill game. When people are writing comments in other channels or on some of my one of my 3 platforms that I run about Space Marine 2, right? These people are leaving comments talking about how this or that is low skill, or this or that is unfair, OP, broken, whatever you want to call it. When they're leaving comments about the Thunderhammer, for example, being easy mode, or they are talking about how the Melter does not require any skill in PvE, and PvE is not heavy on the skill requirement either. I don't want to hear anything about this being a skill game, because it's not balanced at all. It is not a game that you can learn to be particularly pro at, because there's no quick time mechanic, there's no really hard aiming that you can do, because the characters are so large and the maps are so big, and your ping is going to be so random all the time. Sometimes you'll be playing with 200, 100 ms. It's rare for me as a European based person. It's rare that I have to play a game with over 100 ping, but even 50 ping to 23 ping is going to change how you aim. So wait for the ranked, wait for the private PvP lobbies where people are hosting championships or tournaments. I'd be so up for that personally. I'd love to host some Space Marine championships in a private PvP lobby. I mean, we've done this with other games that I've been involved with, and it'd be really cool to do that. But will they add it? Can they add it on time? I don't know. Focus Entertainment still haven't delivered the Dark Angel skins, have they? But let's see what they can drop up for us. I mean, private PvP lobbies can't be that hard for their networking team, right? As many people correctly say, a lot of the newcomers to Space Marine 2, especially people who like things like Ultramarines, yes, they are really captured by the superhuman power fantasy, as they like to describe it, right? But for someone old like myself, I suppose I'm only a 30-year-old boomer, but for someone older who got into an entry point into Warhammer, my entry point into Warhammer is Warhammer Quest. Actually, it's Adventure Quest, but Warhammer Quest is really the first Warhammer game I really immersed myself in, where you can build your own dungeons and set up your own rules, essentially. And Citadel Miniatures Games Workshop, the Warhammer franchise always encouraged this, right? Back in the day, people were interested in the story and really brought in by the universe, not a specific character or chapter or something like this, but the fact that they were looking at a universe, like a D&D style framework that was being laid before them. Newcomers to the Warhammer franchise are taken into the world of Warhammer by this power fantasy in the case of Space Marine 2, right? So let's say that's probably 70% of people who like Warhammer 40k. In my estimates, I'd say that's correct, yeah? Maybe even higher, actually, because some people only know Space Marines and Chaos Space Marines, and that's about it, right? Then they'll know of Orcs, of course, too, because that's Tolkien. It's just a space Tolkien universe, isn't it? It's an extension of that, and that's what Warhammer always has been. It has been a continuation of the Lord of the Rings style fantasy, European style fantasy, which then transmuted into Dungeons and Dragons, which is a framework of role-playing with rules and this and that, but basically it requires you to be a fairly intelligent, well-spoken and engaged person to be playing correctly. You have to know a lot of language and be creative and be able to play a character and to expand upon what you would imagine, rather than just being shown an area and told you can do this or that or that. So I think that what you've got with Space Marines 2 PvP is they've taken this principle and made the PvP purposefully quite easy. It is. They want you to really be stuck in their PvE grinding operations and the campaign. They want you to be in that grind, playing those missions through, spending those 30 to 50 minute sessions, grinding against Tyranids and 𝗎𝗎𝗄𝗡 Marines and, other 𝗎𝗎𝗄𝗡 forces. The guardsmen are especially funny. They yell unintelligible things really enthusiastically before they go splat with the bolter or take the edge of the buzzing chainsaw to their face. Very, very cool, very good. Well done, the aesthetic's great. But the skill level in PvP, there's not even a proper level of balancing being applied to the matchmaking. The way that the classes work in this game, the balance is off. The balance is not fair. It is not well measured. The Vanguard used to be, on release, one of the most essential classes in the game because it could break the bulwark shield, because it could, stun and duel any opponent with the SMG style bolter, the close, fast-firing bolter. They could hook someone and it would stun them for long enough, no matter what class they were or what they did. Even if they dodged, they would die to the SMG bolter fire straight away. And I've got examples of that as a Black Templar on my channel, so drop us a sub for that and go check the 𝗦𝗣𝗔𝗖𝗘 YouTube channel archive out. It's from early patch days. The Vanguard used to be the most powerful class, and basically you'd see 4 Vanguards in a game every game, just because it was so powerful, and everybody feared to use the Assault. Now, I found an issue with the Assault was that you have to view the map totally differently. And the way that the Assault class moves around the map is so unique and so powerful that basically, if you are playing even just TDM, Annihilation, you need at least 1 Assault. But if you're playing something like Seize Ground, you need 2 Assaults to really dominate, because not only is the killing power and the line-breaking ability, the ability to smash through shields, to do AoE damage. I've recently started dropping melter bombs on groups rather than just jumping in and slamming them with the hammer and maybe killing 1 or 2, or maybe even a triple kill, right, if there's 3 or so. But I've started dropping the melter bomb on, and the AoE is so big, such a big spread, that it does crazy, crazy damage, and it's very fun and satisfying. The issue is that the kills happen off camera, which is no fun for the footage on the channel, right? The way that the Assault works is so unique in the way that it can move around the map, the way that it can touch these points or change these spawns in a way and at a speed that no other class can. The only other class that comes close is the Vanguard, but it cannot move at the speed that an Assault can. It cannot traverse levels reliably. Many times you shoot the hook with the Vanguard, and because your character model is too big, you will not make it over the ledge in a way that you assumed you would, because the angles are very difficult to manage, especially if you have to do anything quick. You have to look up, aim, probably correct your aim, fire it, get up there, and then drop, right? Whereas an Assault holds Q, or holds their action button, jumps straight up in the sky, and is ready to go with either the bolter or the hammer, or just jetpacking away to another position, right? This class is the most powerful class, and the fact that our matchmaking for Space Marine 2, you're not allowed, you don't really have a ranked mode. There is some balancing going on. If you walk into a clean lobby, shall we say, where there's just 1, 2 people, 4 people in it or something, it's just people who have very recently entered the queue, and then what happens is, when people start to leave, it merges another lobby together, so the balancing that usually puts, like the high level 25s, there'll be 1 or 2 or 3 on each team, and it'll try to spread them out, and then the other numbers will be quite random. However, what happens is, when people start leaving, even those level 25s, right, or those higher level players, what will happen is, it'll merge any other lobby that fits, like within a similar server distance, so that the ping is minimized, right? And the ping is absolutely essential in this. I basically can't play this game with less than 50 ms ping, and even 50 is quite a lot, but because usually I'm getting between 23 to 40, and that's really good ping, you know, because those moments where you drop as the assault and you're about to hit them with the hammer the second time to secure the kill, right? If you are lagging like over 50 ms, over 50 ping, you've got a big problem, because that person's dodge will work then in those 1 or 2 frames that you could be losing. People's dodge will always work then, and then you have to basically switch to the bolter, or you have to try and make a jump and a jump charge attack, which is an extremely slow attack. So in this game you don't really have good balancing, matchmaking and skill level organization, because these lobbies are merging and moving around so much. And a lot of higher end players have realized that this is the case, and what you do is you look for what we used to call it back in the day, a doom stack. A doom stack is when you get 3 or 4 really good players on a team who do not change lobby, and it does not matter how the other team plays, really. If there are 6 random people, even if they have a lobby of 3 people, if this doom stack is like 4 people, 4 really good players, they don't even need to coordinate with each other, and they will be able to just smash their way through. And actually last night, me and some guys, we were in an Annihilation, which can be like 5 to 7 minute games. If you're a normal game, I'd say, is around 7.5 minutes. If it goes longer than that, and it can, then it's usually a good match, you know, like it's quite even, because there's been lots of kills on both sides, extending the respawn times and the length of the game, right? But once you've got one of these Doomstacks, or you encounter one, there's no way to beat them. I went on a 7-win streak last night with these strangers in the lobby, and they'll be appearing on the YouTube channel too, because there was one guy who at one point who was running around with the heavy, and he was using the heavy melter, you know, the double melter together with the shield, charging in so nobody can shoot him and he can just incinerate them. So it was a highly aggressive heavy that I hadn't seen before, and that's a very obvious thing now that I think about it. That's the best way to use it. Turn the shield on as the heavy, run in and just incinerate people. I'm going to try that as an Iron Warrior. It'll look good. Look forward to that painting and gameplay video coming up. But this is not a skill game. The classes are nowhere near balanced. The classes in this game are so imbalanced, in fact, that I could say it's the most imbalanced game I could think of. There is almost no reason to use the sniper if you have tacticals on your team. There is very little reason that you would rely on a bulwark if you are playing something like Team Deathmatch and the other team has assaults, because you are not going to be able to hold much against someone with a thunder hammer and the ability to, you know, to absolutely break whatever shield they put up by just simply holding the melee button, you know. When the game first came out, nobody knew how to beat a bulwark or what to do as a bulwark, but hold the shield, advance, and chop people. And I remember in the early days of the game, many people were using the chainsword, and reliably they were getting good kills with the chainsword over the sword. But now obviously the meta, so to speak, has moved on, and now everybody uses the sword. It is cooler, of course, yeah, the power sword is a little bit cooler than the chainsword sometimes. That's very debatable, actually. I've just made a really controversial statement there. Is the power sword cooler than the chainsword? I don't think so. The chainsword is much cooler, isn't it? I should revoke my John Warhammer status, as somebody put in a comment below. So I hope people can understand that when they're talking about balance and skill in this kind of game, skill and ability and experience and being good at such a game like this, right? It's not that much about aim. A lot of it is about positioning, and you know, in certain situations when you are dead, when there's nothing you can do, especially as an assault, because your job is to go in, break the lines, or capture that point, or, you know, smash a strong firing line, or a bulwark that's, you know, blocking your team, or a heavy that's absorbing too many shots and really raining down the fire on you. Your job as the bulwark is to jump in there, kill a few people and die, and it is extremely reminiscent for me of the first and second Gears of War, where every fight you have, you kill maybe 1 or 2 people and then you die. Kill 1 or 2 people and then you die. And it's extremely similar in Space Marine 2. The multiplayers of Space Marine 2 feels like a more complex version of Gears of War with an added class system. And obviously in Gears of War it was one of those games where the weapons would be around the map, sort of Halo style, right? But in this game, because you've got classes, everybody comes in with their kit and their gear already. But the size of the characters, the to the left character, over the shoulder view, third person view of the character, gives us all of this characterization and immersion, and this is, I'm not playing as me in first person, right? I'm playing as this Marine. It looks like the character model. It looks like the miniatures that what Games Workshop will sell to you, right? The plastic. Build it up and paint it yourself stuff. It's all about that loop. It's not a skill game. It's about the power fantasy, the immersion, the aesthetic. Now, personally, I have an odd entry point, not a 40k entry point for Warhammer, so I'm not so into the PvE. Yeah, I'm a big, strong Marine crushing a big pile of Xeno scum, and I'm so righteous. For me personally, I like Space Marines, and I think they're a cool chapter in all of this, but the whole idea of them being a corrupt, now dying but extremely powerful empire in this universe that they are very recently, actually, in their history, if you think of it as 10,000 years, right? And they've got 30,000 years of history to go on. If this is a very new thing to humanity, that they would face psychic, other dimensional enemies, warp-based enemies, Chaos Space Marine, Chaos Taint. The idea of gods coming in and being answerable. They talk about that in the campaign, don't they? When I speak, my gods answer. I thought that was a very powerful, idea behind chaos. The fact that basically magic is derived by giving your attention span and your actions over to this other dimensional entity, chaos, Tzeentch, Khorne, Nurgle, Slaanesh, whoever you want to pick, or any other, minor warp deity, or Gork and Mork, right? I wonder, can a non-orc access Gork and Mork magic trees? But yeah, for me, as you can tell, my access point is the universe. So really, when I'm playing this game, I'm enjoying and archiving and videoing, a sort of story about these 6 Marines versus these 6 Space Marines fighting in this arena, and I'm dropping the quotes as I go to really flesh out the feel and the aesthetic of it, and trying to put up some good plays. And obviously I'd say that I'm an average to good player, and I play really good when the other team are really bad. But if you know how to fight against an assault, it's always a tough game. The assault is not impossible to kill by any means. As I said, the assault dies all of the time. But in the realm of which class is strongest, which class wins games the most or changes fates the most within Space Marine 2 PvP, I mean, come on, it's the assault. Play all the game modes and go have a look, see what happens, see who captures the points fastest, which makes the game end quicker, which means your team has points quicker, versus even in team deathmatch, who breaks the lines, who stops that heavy, who stops that bulwark, who can counter the assault that is flying up and down too quickly on the point in B in Mausoleum. Because that area there, you can't shoot up and down those firing lines easily if he comes from behind the pillars, behind the skull tomb casing bookshelf things. But I will wrap it up there, guys. Thanks for listening, guys. Drop us a sub. Check out the archive on the channel. Space Marine 2 𝗎𝗪𝗄𝗧